We know awkward fighters. Real fighters know awkward fighters. He's not an awkward fighter. He's just a dumb fighter.
You trying to kill me or I'm trying to kill you. You know, I think let's go in here and make this money. You know, it's more of a business tactic than anything.
Tank is not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're...
At the press conference, GervontaDavis turned up the heat, directly warning Jake Paul that he plans to end the fight decisively. He said he's coming to knock Jake out and walk away with the payday, showing total confidence in his power and resolve.
He's a fighter that's just started fighting. That's, you know how when somebody first come in the gym and yeah. When somebody first come in the gym and they've been coming for like a little minute, so they think they nice now. They ain't get all the, everything down pat, but that's how he fight. I don't think he's an awkward fighter. Awkward is somebody, I don't want to call them names, but awkward is different from him. He's not awkward. We know awkward fighters. Real fighters know awkward fighters. He's not an awkward fighter. He's just a dumb fighter.
Eddie Hearn didn't hold back on the unusual matchup between GervontaDavis and Jake Paul, saying there's a big difference between real boxing and staged entertainment, and this fight clearly falls into the latter. He explained it's not about testing skill or credibility, but about creating a spectacle to grab attention. Laughing at the idea, Hearn called it hilarious and warned fans not to confuse these exhibitions with top-level professional boxing, reflecting growing concern among traditional promoters that entertainment-focused matches are overshadowing the true essence of the sport.
Jake Paul and GervontaDavis, what can you tell me about that? What can you tell me about why Jake and Anthony has maybe been put to the side for now?
Yeah, they always told us that it was, we were looking at that fight for February of next year, and they always said that there was a chance that Jake would fight in November. I think, wasn't I the one that broke Jake Paul against GervontaDavis 6 months ago or something? I knew that they'd agree that deal. I didn't know they were about to announce it then. But I did know that they'd agreed that deal previously. So I don't like it, if I'm honest. I mean, I think we need to really differentiate between boxing and an entertainment concept, and that's what that is. It's a freak show. It's entertainment. It's a lightweight fighting a cruiserweight. With, I don't know, is it bigger gloves and certain minutes per round? I don't know what it is, but I understand the market and I understand this freak show shock kind of the world mentality of people potentially tuning in. Is that a step too far? Maybe. I mean, I hated Jake Paul against Mike Tyson, but it did massive numbers. I hate Jake Paul against GervontaDavis. It'll probably do massive numbers. So that's when you really have to differentiate yourself between, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it isn't going to do good business. However you want to be involved with it is another kettle of fish. I don't want to be involved with it, but I do respect the fact that it's going to do big numbers.
I hate Jake Paul versus GervontaDavis, but it'll probably draw massive numbers, one commentator said, highlighting the difference between personal taste and business success. He added that while he wouldn't want to be involved, he respects the fight's potential to perform financially. Ariel Helwani offered a different take, noting that fans often accept and even enjoy unconventional spectacles in MMA, yet react negatively when the same happens in boxing, an unfair double standard, he argues. Helwani believes that while the Davis versus Paul matchup isn't traditional boxing, it has entertainment value and should be viewed as a one-off show rather than judged by the standards of title fights or sanctioned events. If audiences can embrace spectacle fights elsewhere, he says boxing fans should be able to enjoy this one without excessive criticism.
Generally, I'm sure it'll be a little bit closer, maybe 200 to 150. How much bigger can Tank get? Why would that be somewhat celebrated in MMA, but in boxing it isn't? Do you know what I mean, Pete? In MMA, we sort of love the freak shows, but in boxing they don't. Why do you think that is? What does that say about us in MMA?
Well, we're a sick bunch of fucks, there's no doubt about that. But I will say...
You agree, right, or no?
Yeah, the idea of the MMA freak show is everybody coming together and saying, oh, we're going to watch a freak show. This is what this is. We know what this is. It is absolutely mental, what we're going to watch here. I think where people get annoyed with Jake is like, he even got me. You know what I mean? This guy is the greatest outrage farmer of all time. I saw his tweet and I was like, reading it, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, this is exactly what he fucking wants me to do. Like this is every time I'm doing this, he's in the game of getting eyeballs, and this is ridiculous. As long as why do I like an MMA freak show? Why would I watch Eddie Hall in an MMA fight against Dylan Dennis? I'd be like, this is fucking ridiculous and I have to watch it. That's the way I feel about Jake Paul and Davis. I will watch it. It's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's all of us getting together to go to the circus for the evening. I think the reason why there's pushback against it when Jake does it is because Jake, and obviously tactfully, is going like, what are you talking about? This guy's a world champion. I took out Mike Tyson. He's a world champion. And then I'm going to take out Canelo and stuff like this. Like he's winding us up. He's not agreeing to the stipulation that we're all agreeing on, which is this is a freak show. This is absolutely mental. As long as we can agree with that, we can.
Chael Sonnen was even more critical, questioning Jake Paul's boxing ability. He argued that the Paul brothers aren't recognized for true skill in the ring, relying instead on fame and money to secure high-profile fights. Sonnen pointed out the pattern of Jake choosing opponents who are legends or highly skilled, despite the obvious gap in technical expertise. For him, these matchups aren't about fairness or competition. They're about using influence and cash to generate attention. His sharp critique mirrors the view of many who see the fight as a money-driven spectacle rather than a legitimate test of boxing talent.
Not the guy that knows how to sell a fight. Tank cannot sell a fight in his own division. You have the Paul brothers and they come over to boxing. Their idea from day one is we don't have the skills or the experience. What we're gonna do is we'll take on the absolute best guys, but they're gonna spot us some pounds. Hank has one job to do, that it doesn't make any difference, that boxing is a real sport. My skills versus your skill, of which I am an abundance of and of which you have none of. Hank is telling anybody that will listen that there's a size problem. My skills and my experience in boxing, I do not have to wonder who's in the bar tonight. Any bar I go to, I rule the bar. No, it turns out that you don't. Just need some big guy to corner you. Apparently, boxing has never stood its ground. Boxing has never been able to explain why Floyd needed a half hour to get rid of a guy who's never boxed before. Hank Davis has already began this. When you choose a dum-dum, don't be surprised when he goes out and acts like a dum.
Jake Paul stirred the pot by taunting Davis with one of his classic publicity stunts. In a video, he destroyed a cake shaped like Davis, mocking his opponent and aiming to provoke him. The act wasn't just about humiliation, it created major online buzz. Paul, a master of promotion, used the gesture to make headlines and fuel the rivalry narrative. The cake demolition reminded fans that he thrives on mind games and spectacle just as much as he does in the ring.
Jake Paul, shouldn't he?
No, he shouldn't.
You don't think? Sorry, so I thought we were all unanimous here.
He shouldn't.
Do you think Jake Paul beats Gervonta Davis?
70 pounds is 70 pounds.
Gervonta Davis is very small. 5'5".
He's tiny, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Jake Paul,
he's a little
6'1".
man.
If Jake Paul's tucking up
Move on.
and absorbing punishment, I'm walking forward.
Ryan Garcia compared the fight to past controversial matchups in boxing, like Mike Tyson's exhibitions that fans didn't really ask for. He admitted that the public isn't clamoring for Davis versus Paul either, but noted that boxing often moves forward with these spectacles regardless. Garcia emphasized that Davis is much smaller than Paul, making the fight inherently unfair. His point is that, despite fan discomfort, the hype and financial incentives behind the matchup will...
Bro, that's a fucking disgrace of a fight.
Yeah.
You know it. Just like the Mike Tyson, low-key was a disgrace, but we accepted it, but
Yeah.
he was 60 years old. I mean, the casuals don't see the weight difference. They see Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis.
Yeah.
And if Gervonta Davis doesn't fuck up Jake Paul, they're going to think Jake Paul is some pound-for-pound champion type of fighter.
Yeah.
Gervonta Davis, he's actually really small. Like, when I fought him, he's small.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a very unfair fight.
Watching Davis face someone as big as Jake Paul will be surreal. The size gap is striking, almost comical, but Davis holds clear advantages in skill, speed, and defense. His footwork lets him move around the ring and avoid heavy punches, making it tough for Paul to land clean shots despite his size and reach. Davis's defensive ability and counterpunching could create opportunities even with the weight and height difference. The real intrigue of the fight comes from this clash of skill versus size. completely wild to watch. They announced the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight, and reactions were mixed. Many felt stunned by the size gap, with a 135-pounder facing someone near 200 pounds, so it's hard to see it as a real contest. Some say it'll play out like a scripted exhibition rather than a competitive fight, because neither guy wants to take a real loss. People expect more show than violence, more sparring to make money than a true win-or-lose battle, and that's seen as a business move, not a sporting test. Fans who watched similar spectacles felt let down before, admitting the hype didn't match the action, even if they liked Jake personally. Still, nobody doubts Tank's talent. He's fast, explosive, and hits hard, but the size difference makes the matchup feel unfair and more about spectacle than sport.
Is Gervonta Davis fighting a guy that big? There is some interest to that, because you're not going to see Gervonta Davis. You're going to be able to see Gervonta Davis's feet. That's what I'm going to be interested to see, because I don't think Gervonta's going to jump out there and try to run up into Jake Paul and try to knock Jake Paul out. What I think Gervonta is going to do is Gervonta is going to move his feet, just going to move, make Jake Paul miss a lot, make Jake Paul look really dumb just by using defense on him and making him swing at the wind, because that is going to be very tough for him to hit a guy that is that little. If you play basketball, for example, and you are a tall 6'1" guy and you try to stand in front of some 5'8", real quick 5'8" guy, trust me, their first steps they are gone up out of there, those little teeny weeny dudes. So that's going to be very fun and interesting to watch how that goes down. Now, on the other side, you know what Jake Paul's going to do. He don't have no consciousness. He doesn't have a conscience about what he's trying to do. He's going to go in there try to hurt a 60-year-old Mike Tyson. He don't care. He wanted to Nate. He's way bigger than Nate Jones when he fought Nate Jones. You think he didn't care about hitting Nate Jones upside the head? He's definitely going to be looking to try to get as much as he can get off on Gervonta Davis, and I see him trying to run up on him, trying to maul him, trying to grab him, trying to club him, trying to do all kind of craziness, man. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Now, let me tell you what I really hope, and I haven't seen for this particular card, but I know I know it's going to be good, which is the undercard. The undercard for the Canelo Alvarez fight and Terrence Crawford fight is absolutely horrendous. There's nothing on the thing that would make you want to watch the
fights. Even Terrence Crawford, one of the top pound-for-pound boxers in the world, dismissed the idea of taking the Davis versus Paul fight seriously. He questioned how promoters could put a 195-pound fighter in the ring with someone at 135 pounds, seeing the matchup as more of a business move than a real fight. Crawford's indifferent reaction reflects the skepticism many boxing professionals share, viewing the bout as spectacle rather than true competition. His comments highlight the divide between genuine sport and entertainment-driven matchups.
You know, this is speed and power and explosiveness combined was like they couldn't keep up with it.
Wanted to get your take on the Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. They just announced the fight. What's your instant reaction to that?
I don't have no reaction. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. You know, if it's scripted, then it's gonna be good for the fans to watch.
What do you mean by scripted? Like rigged?
Yeah, like scripted. Like,
but none of those guys want a fucking L, right?
I think it's not a real fight. I think it's because it can't be a real fight because they ain't in the same weight. So it'd be more like an exhibition.
I think it is an exhibition, but do you think they're like, but not one person saying like, yo, I'm gonna fucking throw the match? You think?
I don't think.
Or you never know.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go in there and spar. I don't think it's gonna be you trying to kill me or I'm trying to kill you. You know, I think it's let's go in here and make this money. You know, it's more of a business tactic than anything.
Because that's what Jake and Mike kind of did.
Yeah, for sure.
Like everyone bought into that. And then when you watched it, it was just like, bro, this sucks. I'm friends with Jake. I like him too. But that fight,
yeah,
I didn't like that one.
Jake too big for Tank, you know? In reality, he's way too big for Tank. Like Tank is very talented, punch hard.
Punches from Davis might not have much effect on Jake Paul. In boxing, power often determines the outcome, but against a much larger opponent, Davis's shots may lose impact. Paul's size could absorb much of the force, making it much harder for Davis to make a difference. Conversely, if Paul lands a clean shot with his weight advantage, the damage to Davis could be severe. This uncertainty adds tension and raises questions about whether this exhibition should even happen under the current circumstances.
I am interested to see, will it look similar to this, or will it be even more definitive in favor of Tank, like some people are suggesting? And with it being 10 rounds, like Jake Paul did start to gas at the end of his last fight. Like if that happens, maybe Tank could look at that and go, right, I'm going to work the body early, and when you do start fading, then I'm going to fucking really put the pressure on you. And it's one thing with Julio Cesar Chavez, you know, in front of you, you know, who's trying a little bit in the last 2 rounds, but Tank, even as small as he is, it will be a lot harder to keep him off. And what will Tank's power be like as a 135er? Like he's probably going to be about 150 when he gets in there, maybe. Will those punches on the big fat dome of Jake Paul actually really hurt? Because power can translate up a couple of divisions, but like that's a lot of divisions. What if Jake just takes them? No problem. I'm not saying he will, I'm just saying it would be fucking weird. This really is size versus skill in its purest form, and that is why I've got to admit I'm fascinated to see it. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed as well, because I wanted to see Tank versus Roach after they went to a draw in their last fight, a very controversial draw. I think Tank should have fucking lost it, to be honest. Tank doesn't give a shit about legacy and belts. He doesn't give 2 shits about that. He just wants money. And unfortunately, it's going to really hinder his legacy. His legacy will just be, yeah, he had a good run, but he's never going to be up there with the greats, despite his talent. That being said, if he chins Jake Paul, it won't really matter, because everyone will fucking love him, won't they? And ironically, I said Tank should be fighting Roach, but Jake Paul clearly now should be fighting Darren Till. This was Darren's fight the other night against Luke Rockhold, former UFC middleweight champion. Dropped him. Hard to watch. There was just a massive gap in ability there. Like Rockhold being like a very well-rounded fighter in MMA, but Till just such a specialist in stand-up, and it showed. And this knockout was fucking brutal. Oh god, it was a terrible one. I mean, his leg was bent back and everything.
A controversial rumor is circulating that GervontaDavis could be offered up to $200 million to deliberately lose to Jake Paul. Speculation suggests Davis might take the money and hand Paul the win, sparking outrage among fans. Many believe this would hurt boxing's credibility, raising serious doubts about the fight's authenticity.
Now, really, y'all worry about the wrong question. Y'all worry about Roach, but the real question is, damn, is Tank getting paid $150, $200 million to take that dive versus Jake? Is he gonna do it? Now, I'm just thinking, like, damn, like, for them, $200 million? It's an exhibition, ain't gonna go on your record? Shit, what would I do? Would I take $200 million to lose a fake fight? Damn, G, Jake might win this fight, bro, because of shit. $200 million is an exhibition, y'all already talking shit. $200 million, would I take the dive? I think $200 million was worth taking the dive, man. I honestly do think so. And it ain't even a real fight. I hope that's not the case, but that's a fucking solid fucking question. What the fuck is gonna happen in this fight? Like, is he gonna take the dive? It's an exhibition, so somebody gotta win. It's not real. It's like a play. When you really think about it, it's sparring. It's not real. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What y'all think? What would you do? Would you take the $200 million to motherfucking lose to Jake Paul?
That's a wrap for today's video.